Before this video starts, if you enjoy this video, there are many more like it already on the channel, with many more like it to come in the future, so subscribe. I am trying to hit 125,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so I would really appreciate it. I upload 6 days a week on this channel, so if you're looking for some consistent basketball talk, this is the place for it. Also, drop a like on this video. It only takes 1 second and makes a massive difference. Two things real quick. One, there is a new episode of the podcast that we recorded in person with me and Mojo, as well as Legend of Winning as our guest in Atlanta. So go ahead and go check that one out. Lo spent the last third or so of the podcast making fun of me, and it was very funny and a very enjoyable experience, and I think it's a very entertaining podcast, so I would highly recommend you check that one out if you're a fan of me, a fan of Mojo, or a fan of Legend of Winning. So go give that one a watch. Also, number 2, this video is coming out on a Saturday when they typically come out on Sundays and Wednesdays, and that's because I have a video planned that I wanted to get out today, but I didn't have time for, so it's going to be coming out on Sunday instead, so you're getting this one early to have that one tomorrow. So that's the situation with that. So today I wanted to talk about Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat, but I'm going to primarily focus on Jimmy Butler. So Jimmy is someone who has been a very controversial figure in the NBA for the past couple of years. Once he was traded from the Chicago Bulls, he really became a controversial figure on the Minnesota Timberwolves, and he did so by basically completely throwing a temper tantrum and ruining that franchise by demanding a trade after a year. And it seemed like he was the crazy one when in retrospect, he was kind of right about that whole team being soft and not having the it factor at all that he was trying to instill in them, and then they just bitched out of it basically. And then he went to the Sixers, and he wasn't nearly as vocal about the issues that he had with the Sixers, but he definitely had them. Part of them with Brett Brown, which, as we know, were perfectly legitimate because Brett Brown's a bad coach. And now he lands on the Miami Heat, and because of these controversies of the past with what kind of player he is and what effect he has on a locker room, a lot of people dismissed him going to Miami as not only a bad move, but also hypocritical. Because Jimmy claimed to be this guy that was all about winning, and here he was signing with the Miami Heat team that wasn't even in the playoffs the previous years, or they were like just inside the playoffs, like not really competing at all, barely making an 8th seed or 2. So it seemed like Jimmy Butler was like leaving this situation with the Philadelphia 76ers, where you have a superstar and a half, Ben Simmons being the half superstar, and what seems like can be a winning formula, and instead you're going to Miami, where you can be the lead shot taker and be the guy in a city that you like more than Philadelphia, and just basically be a lot of very selfish and not caring about winning type of intentions is what a lot of people, even including myself, projected on Jimmy Butler when he went to Miami. But as it turns out, Jimmy knew what the fuck he was doing, because the Miami Heat were phenomenal this year. They were on pace to win over 50 games. Him and Bam Adebayo were the best duo, one of the best duos in the league, and they made a fantastic defense and a pretty damn good offense with a whole lot of shooters like Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, Kendrick Nunn, Kelly Olynyk, Myers Leonard, Goran Dragic. There's so many shooters on this team, and such good defense, and they ended up being a very good team led by Jimmy Butler. And not just because Jimmy Butler was a good player and because he had a good fit on the court, but because he was an amazing fit off of the court. Because with Jimmy coming to Miami, they instilled a culture that was no nonsense, no bullshit. And everyone was open and honest with each other about what they expected of each other. They were happy to yell at each other and then move on with no feelings hurt. And as it turns out, this environment was actually good for some winning basketball, and building that environment around Jimmy Butler and making him the foundation of that made for a very good team, because now we see them up 3-0 on the favorite in the Eastern Conference by a country mile, Milwaukee Bucks. So building around Jimmy Butler proved a lot of people wrong, because a lot of people expected this to be a failure. They expected the Heat to be like the 7th seed in the Eastern Conference and like not really be competing whatsoever and lose in the first round. And instead, 7 games into the playoffs, they are undefeated. The only undefeated team in the playoffs, in fact. So that's a hell of a bar, and they have been playing phenomenally. And all of that is because of Jimmy Butler, and I think because of that, people really need to evaluate where they rank Jimmy Butler in the league. Now, in my case, though I have expressed plenty of hesitance in Jimmy as a locker room presence and even a little bit as a leader, I wasn't in any doubt about his talent, because in my top 50 players in the league, which I would make some adjustments to, but my top 12 I generally agree with, because I had Jimmy Butler at number 12 in the league. But there are two adjustments that I would make, which is I would move Damian Lillard above Nikola Jokic. I would move Luka Doncic above Anthony Davis. Well, actually, I guess there's three. And I would move Jimmy Butler to the number 10 spot in the league. And as a matter of fact, I might even move him to number 9. Wait, no. I don't think... I'm looking at my list right now. I don't think there's space there. So yeah, I think Jimmy Butler's a top 10 player in the league now. And I had him at rank number 12, which is a good bit higher than I see a lot of people put him. He was someone that was consistently put like just inside the top 15 or even outside of it. I think I saw him somewhere at like number 18 or something like that. But Jimmy Butler is someone that I have believed in to some extent. But without a doubt, there was an element of hesitance. And now I do not have any hesitance in that whatsoever. Jimmy Butler is a top 10 player in the league. His skill on the court is not top 10. However, the mentality and the toughness and the refusing to lose that he brings to the court puts him in that upper echelon. And because of that, Jimmy, top 10 player in the league now, according to me. Outside of that, I want to talk about this Miami Heat team. I find the discourse about them and the Bucks to be interesting because, I don't know, it's kind of a thing that's always existed within the NBA, which is the focus on the team that fails rather than the team that succeeds, when the team that fails was expected to succeed. So let me give you some examples. So let's say the 2011 Dallas Mavericks or the 2004 Detroit Pistons. When we look at those final series, in retrospect, in the long term, people are more talking about those teams than they did at the time, really. But the discourse when those things happened was, wow, the Miami Heat sure blew that, or wow, the Kobe and Shaq Lakers, they're done for. And it wasn't, granted, I'm projecting a little bit with the Pistons because I wasn't paying attention to basketball then, and I was only kind of aware for 2011, but from what I understand, it seems like people were more focused on the failure of the team rather than the success of the underdog. And in the case of the 2011 Mavericks, when people talk about the 2011 finals, they're more focused on LeBron's failure than they are on Dirk and the Mavericks' success. With the Detroit Pistons, it's like, well, this finals was the final blow for Kobe and Shaq. And because people look at the league through the lens of superstars and even the upper echelon of superstars, a superstar like Giannis Antetokounmpo being taken down by more of a ragtag team that's an underdog like the Miami Heat, they're more likely to focus on the failure of that superstar than the success of that team. And I think people are making this mistake with the Miami Heat once more, because really, you should focus on the success rather than the failure. And that's just kind of a thing with the NBA in general. But like, I think the 2011 Mavericks are mentioned more within the context of LeBron's failure than they are within the context of their own success. So the discourse surrounding this sort of playoff situation could use some adjustment, and it'd be nice if this series was the source of that adjustment, but I don't think it will be. But this Miami Heat team, Bam Adebayo, who I fucking adore, he's one of my favorite players in the league, and actually, I actually managed to get a hot take back from a couple years ago that aged well, because a few years ago, I said that Bam Adebayo would be a top 10 center in the league in a couple of years, and here we are now, and he's a top 5 center in the league. So, pretty good take there by myself. Gonna pat myself on the back on that one and just completely ignore the 9 other takes out of 10 that I got completely fucking wrong. But I was happy to be right about that, and I'm happy to see Bam Adebayo succeed. And I also don't think people should be as shocked that this Miami Heat team has been as successful as they have, because, or specifically against the Milwaukee Bucks, because this was a team that was built pretty much perfectly to match up against the Milwaukee Bucks. Like, if I had to choose one team that not was most likely to beat the Bucks, but that was most well built and well prepared to do so, it was the Miami Heat, because Bam Adebayo is probably the best matchup against Giannis in the league. And actually, I'm going to remove the probably from that. He is the best matchup. From a one-on-one standpoint, Bam Adebayo is nearly as big and nearly as athletic as Giannis, and he is both quick enough and strong enough to deal with him on the perimeter and deal with him in the paint. And as a result, he is just a nightmare for Giannis. And I feel bad for Giannis at times because I know what it's like to match up against somebody who you're just not well equipped to score against. And it's very frustrating because you keep doing moves that you know work 99% of the time, and then here comes this fucker to interrupt that. So I feel bad for Giannis in that regard. And then the Miami Heat are just a bunch of shooters. I didn't even mention him earlier when talking about the Heat shooters, but Jay Crowder has been amazing in this series for the Miami Heat. He's both played great defense on Giannis, and he has not been missing from three. And I think this series could be a little bit of a revival for him because after leaving the Boston Celtics, he's been a pretty whatever role player in the league. Being a starting power forward, playing great defense and hitting threes, he might get a bigger contract this offseason than he originally was because of this series. So good on Jay Crowder, and really, this Miami Heat team's culture is just amazing, and that's really mostly thanks to Jimmy Butler. Of course, elements of this existed previous to Jimmy, but Jimmy came in and made it all work, and he deserves the credit for that. He deserves the credit for being the foundation of one of the best cultures, if not the best culture in the league, and it's a winning culture that is going to continue winning. And I would not be shocked if this team made it to the finals, because I definitely think, I mean, fuck, if they can beat the Bucks, they can beat the Boston Celtics. Now, my prediction has always been whoever makes the finals in the West is going to be the team that wins. Even if it's the Houston Rockets, I think they could have beaten the Bucks, and I definitely think they could beat the Miami Heat. But like both of the LA teams, I'm pretty confident would win the championship if they made whichever one makes the finals. So I don't think that the Miami Heat are going to win a championship, but they're going to be. I would actually put my money on them being in the finals because I think they're a little bit better than the Celtics, and I think they have that momentum. So if this Heat team makes the finals, you really got to reevaluate what you think of Jimmy Butler. And in terms of Giannis's 2021 free agency, I think there's a high likelihood that this is the team he goes to. It's an interesting situation because he's going to end up getting embarrassed by them. That's really going to be if he doesn't have that happen in the 2021 playoffs and they don't match up and he fails some other way, I think people will forget that and have that in the back of their head. But if not, that could be an interesting situation. But yeah, I'm done talking. Miami Heat are great. Jimmy Butler's great. That is the end of this video. Please be sure to go check out that podcast. Drop a like on this video and subscribe for more NBA content like this. And cue the outro music.